In example number 5, we are going to be using Cramer's rule to solve a 3 by 3 system. And let's just say that it's about to get hairy and crunchy all at the same time. So let's strap on those boots and let's get going here. All right, so the way that this works here, as you can see by the long formula here, that in order to find x, y, and z, we need to find 4 things. We first need to find d, which is our determinant, okay? And we also then need to find the determinant of x, the determinant of y, and the determinant of z. And it looks pretty simple and pretty maybe simple and fast, but actually not quite fast. It actually is a little tedious here. So just that's why making very careful calculations is very important, because if you make one small error, you'll be at the very end and pulling your hair out here. So let's go ahead and just start this here. Let's go ahead and first find our determinant, and basically you just take all of your coefficients, as you can see here, a sub 1s, a sub 2s, and b subs and c subs, and we just find the determinant of that. So let's go and do that then. So d is going to be equal to, let's do that then, 3, negative 2, 4, 4, 1, 1, 1, negative 1, negative 1. Okay, so that's what we want to do right there. And if you remember, if you ever want to find a determinant of a 3 by 3, we need to choose one of the rows or columns. And I'm going to choose something that's going to be the easiest to do. So I'm going to choose this third row because they're all like ones, and that's going to be super simple to do there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that then. So I'm going to start with the first, and even before that, let's just remember here about our little pattern here, right? Plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, and then plus, minus, plus. So that's important because that's going to tell us the lead numbers if we have to multiply by a negative or not. All right, so let's do this then here. So if I'm going to do my first guy right here, I'm going to go ahead and cross this column out, which then leads me, so this is 1, 1, right? So this is 1, and then this is a positive 1. Multiply that by that determinant of negative 2, 4, 1, 1. Okay, move that over. Great, so now that's negative 1, right? But then this is a negative here, so a negative times a negative 1. I'm going to just go and show that. So it's a negative times a negative 1. And then times that by 3, 4, 4, 1. Okay. Move it over one more time, which is a negative 1, and that's a positive there, so that just means when I multiply that, it's still negative. So negative 1 times the determinant of 3, negative 2, 4, 1. Okay, so I'm going to kind of do this here. So 1 times guy is just going to be 1, so if I work with this, that's negative 2 minus 4. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. 4 times 1 is 4, and we take the difference. Negative and negative is a positive 1, right? So I'm just going to leave that there. So 3 times 1 is 3, minus 4 times 4 is 16. And then negative 1 times 3 times 1 is 3, minus 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Okay? So if we simplify all this guy right here, that's just going to give us negative 8. Just make sure I'm doing that, or negative 6 actually. That's negative 6. Let's see, negative 13, and negative, what's that, 3, 8, 11. 11. Great. Combine all that, and I get negative 30. Great. So right now we just found our D. So our D is negative 30. So that's what we just found. So in order for us to find X, Y, and Z, we have to know what our D is. Okay, so now let's go ahead and find D of X, the determinant of X. All right. Now, the way that we find the determinant of X, okay, is we find our X column, this x coefficient and I replace it with this guy. Okay, so that means I'm going to take 3, 4, and 1, and now it's going to become 5, 14, and 1. Okay, that's what I'm going to do right there. So this is now going to become 5, 14, and 1. And now the rest of it is still going to remain the same right here. Okay, it's still going to be -2, 1, a -1, 4, 1, -1. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So -2, 1, -1, 4, 1, -1. Okay, and when we do this, we have to again choose a row or a column. I'm going to just keep choosing this guy right here because it's simplest for me, at least personally. And I'm also going to use this right here, right? Plus, minus, plus, because it has to match that right there. Okay. So doing this right here, let's just, I'm going to try to move a little quicker here so this video isn't real long. All right, so 1 times the determinant of -2, 4, 1, 1, right? Because if I cross that out, then it's going to give us that right there. And I do minus a -1, because it's minus a -1 times the determinant of 5, 4, 14, 1. Okay, and again, like, how am I doing this? Here, I think I'll just show it just because I don't want anybody to get confused here. If I cross that out, then that leaves me -2, 4, 1, 1, which that's what I got there. Okay, and then if I want to get my second determinant, cross that out, and that's how I'm with 5, 4, 14, 1. 5, 4, 14, 1. This was a negative, so that's why that's a negative, and it was a -1. Okay, great. I'm just going to move this over a little bit. Awesome. And so now lastly, I have this guy, which is -1, and that's a positive, so it's just going to still remain -1. So -1 times the determinant 5, -2, 14, 1. Okay. So doing all of this multiplication and doing all that, I'm actually not going to do all that right now. And so that right there would give you -90. Okay. So if I were to multiply all of these guys out. Let's go ahead now and do d of y, right? Because now we need to get that guy. So d of y, again, the way that this works is we leave the x coefficients there, we leave the z coefficients right there, but then we're going to change these guys. Actually, wait a minute, I need to change this whole thing here. That's not correct. D of y equals x, y, and with the change the y right here, right? So let's go ahead and make sure that we go back to our original. There we go. So this becomes now 5, 14, 1 because we're going to find y, but this stays the same and that stays the same right there. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do that then. So we get 3, 4, 1, and this is the one that we changed right here in the middle. 5, 14, 1. And then 4, 1, -1. And I will once again use that same column, or I'm sorry, row. Do I have to use it? No, you can use any row or any column that you want. I just like it because it's much easier for me to do because all the ones. All right, so let's go ahead and start to set up this bad boy. So I'm going to cross this guy out right there. And again, just as a reminder, we're using, where is it at? Right there, we're using plus, minus, plus. Okay, so that's what we're going to be using right there, plus, minus, plus as our signs. Maybe I'll just do that right here in blue. Plus, minus, plus. Okay. So 1 times the determinant of 5, 4, 14, 1. Okay, so that's where this came from right here. And I just move this guy over. It's -1. Okay, so -1 times 3, 4, 4, 1. Great. And then move that over one more time. Cool beans. And I get negative 1 times 3, 5, 4, 14. Okay. And so if you do all that right there, you would get negative 60. Okay. And as you can, and you'll see in the class Blackboard notes in there, you'll see in our week 8 notes in there, I have a link to where you can actually put in a 3x3 determinant, and it'll actually give it to you like just like this, where it'll just give you the answer. So it may save yourself a little bit of work, but you just got to know maybe just like what to punch in there. All right. Last but not least, we're going to go ahead and find a d of z, and then we're ready to find this here. So the way that this works again is we are going to go back up to our original problem here, leave the x coefficients, leave the y coefficients, but then we replace the z with 5, 14, 1. Okay? All right. And that would be then again 3, 4, 1, negative 2, 1, negative 1, and then now we replace this with 5, 14, and 1. Cool beans, cool beans. I'm going to highlight this right here. All right. And I know I'm going to use plus minus plus for this row right here. And let's go ahead and begin. So I cross that guy out right there. And so I start off by saying 1 times the determinant of negative 2, 5, 1, 14. And then a minus minus is a plus 1 times the determinant. All right, so I got to cross that out. All right, good. So now that's 3, 5, 4, 14. And then move this over one more time. And and that's plus and a plus right there. So 3, negative 2, plus 1 times 3, negative 2, 4, 1. Okay. So we do all that, and that would, the d of z would just give us 0. Is that what I got there? Yes. Great. So last but not least, if I want to find x, it's d of x over d. Okay, and we found that our d of x was negative 30, and our d was negative, I'm sorry, d of x was negative 90. D of x was negative 90, and our d was negative 30, which is just going to give us 3. Okay, if I want to find y, d of y over d, so d of y was negative 60 over negative 30, which is just 2. And if I want to find my z, it's d of z over d. And we know we get 0 right here, and then d is negative 30, but we know that's just 0. So the final answer is 3, 2, 0. Whew! We got through it.